Okay, so I never talk about this, but today, for just this video, I am going to discuss it. And the reason for that is because frequently, you only have to look beneath my videos. Many people ask me, Obsidian, why'd you never mention consoles? Why'd you never mention VR? And pretty much without fail, there's always at least a handful of comments, and sometimes many comments, that mention this. So yes, there is a reason I don't discuss this, and we're going to get into that in this video. And also, I'm fully aware that there is a percentage of the community that, these things are very important to them. And for those of you who are more recent to Elite Dangerous, you may not be aware of the history, so very quickly I'm going to catch you up on what happens here and why this is a particular issue for some people. I also want to take a moment to point out that I'm not digging up old history here. I don't want to tread over old ground. There's a very specific reason I'm talking about this now, and I won't be talking about it again. And that's because, yes, people do keep asking me about it, and in future I will have a video to point them to when they ask that question. So here all that is. So Elite Dangerous launched way back in 2014, right at the end of the year. In fact, it's now over 10 years old. It's still a great game and consistently gets new updates from Frontier. In fact, the most recent one is Trailblazers, and this allowed for the first time star system colonization, which means that yes, players can deploy their own stations. And also that Frontier have regularly been adding brand new ships to the game. All of this to say that the game is still getting updated after all of these years. Now, when the game launched in 2014, it did come with VR support, and shortly after, the console editions of the game were also launched. Well, I say shortly after, but it wasn't immediate. The Xbox version launched in October 2015, nearly a year after the PC version, and the PlayStation version launched quite a long time later in June of 2017. Now, these dates are important to mention because they highlight just how long players had access to the game before Frontier finally abandoned the development of the console edition. In short, I'm just setting the stage there for why the console version meant so much to so many people. It's not like they only had it for 5 minutes, they actually had it for a very, very long time. It therefore meant they were very protective about it because, it was valuable to them. And talking of being protective and valuable things, here's a word from today's sponsor, Extra. I used to find keeping essentials organised somewhat of a challenge, and then I met the Extra's Wallet Pro, and this really changed things for me. This new version of Extra's Wallet brings some interesting changes. Crafted with high quality materials with a fully recycled aluminium mechanism, this wallet redefines durability without the bulk. It holds from 1 to 14 cards and cash whilst maintaining an ultra slim profile. Thanks to its innovative metal ejector trigger, accessing your cards is effortless and smooth, delivering one-handed convenience every single time. Plus, the modular add-on ecosystem means you can add and tailor your carry to your unique lifestyle. With its lifetime warranty, you're really getting a wallet here that's built to last and merging cutting-edge technology with classic elegance. Take advantage of Extra's spring sale now, enjoy 30% off, and with my exclusive code, you can get up to 40% off. Check the link in the description for all the details. The console version of Elite Dangerous then was on the market for 7 years or around about 5 years depending on which console you actually picked it up for. Unfortunately, in March of 2022, Frontier announced that they were going to stop development of the console version of Elite Dangerous. It would continue to get critical updates or security updates, but content updates were going to cease. This also meant that the big expansion, Elite Dangerous Odyssey, which people have been waiting for many years at that point, was also not going to arrive on consoles. You see, the release of Odyssey was a tipping point for Elite Dangerous. It brought with it the brand new content, the ability to leave your ship and walk around on foot for the first time, and also some brand new planets, some of which you can see on the screen right here. Unfortunately, the release also came with some significant problems, which Frontier had to address over the following months and the following years. The knock-on effect to all of this was that Frontier had to decide how they were going to manage developing all of this, and they decided that they would focus on a single codebase in order to continue walking forward with Elite Dangerous, and their focus therefore turned exclusively to the PC version of the game. Understandably, a lot of people were very unhappy, very surprised, and extremely disappointed about all of this. Around a similar time between that 2021 release window for Odyssey and the cancellation of development for the console version of Elite in 2022, there were also some other problems which impacted VR when it came to Elite. Now, Elite has supported VR since it launched back in 2014. In fact, it's probably one of the best games that was available in 2014 for VR and still remains one of the best games for VR even today. However, the full-on functionality of VR support for the game did not extend to the Odyssey component, and that meant that whilst you'll still have the full VR experience whilst inside your ship or inside a vehicle, when you leave your ship and get out on foot, the game would actually switch to a flat screen mode whilst in the headset. This was a workaround from the developers because Frontier were not willing or not able to go the whole hog and implement the full-on VR support for the on-foot component. And yes, that obviously felt like VR was being abandoned. The truth is, it wasn't fully abandoned, it just was never fully developed for this extra component of the game. Right, so that brings us up to date, and we can now get on to why I never talk about this. And, the reason is very simple. I understand fully that a lot of people are very disappointed about this, even after all these years. I often see some comments actually mocking this attitude in the videos. Some people saying, after all these years, you think people would let go. But the fact that some people still keep bringing this up really does highlight just how much Elite Dangerous meant to them. But it is pretty important to also point out that Frontier didn't just cut console users off cold, they did offer the ability to switch their accounts over to a PC version, and this window was open for quite a while, and I do believe quite a few people took it up, but obviously not everyone had a decent enough PC or was even willing or able to make that switch. At the time, I was really disappointed to see all this happen, like a lot of other people, and at this point I really wish Frontier would revisit the decision now that Elite is doing well again, and kind of start the development back up for Elite for consoles. But I guess there would be a lot of work to catch up on. Either way, that doesn't stop me hoping it happens one day. But that doesn't mean that in every single video I would need to bring this up every single time. Frontier made their decision. It wasn't a popular decision, but it obviously was a very difficult decision, and yeah, it did disappoint a lot of people, so much so that all these years later they are still talking about it. But as a content creator, as a YouTuber, what am I to do? Do I have to keep bringing this up in every single video? That just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for me, it wouldn't work for the vast majority of the audience, and I'm sure even for those few people who still play on consoles but watch my videos would, well, they don't want to hear that every single time, do they? By now it's really got to the point where I just don't want to keep ignoring it, because video after video people keep mentioning consoles, they keep asking me why I don't discuss it, they keep criticising Frontier for what they feel is the complete abandonment and complete letdown, and for me it's become somewhat of an elephant in the room. It's something I feel that I'm navigating around because I'm not actually discussing it, I'm not actually bringing it up, despite people in the comments, despite long-term viewers keep constantly mentioning it. The question for me then is, do I just continue not addressing it, or do I take one video out of the many videos I upload to just discuss all of this, get it out of the way, and once and for all try and clear the air a little bit, try and give a point of reference where people can come back to this if they so want to at some point in the future, a place to kind of, well, where all this information and my opinion of it is collated together. So in short, bottom line is that I'm not white knighting for Frontier, I'm not defending their actions, and I'm also not hating on Frontier by bringing this all up again. It's simply a case that Frontier made a very difficult decision, and ultimately they moved on, and eventually the majority of the community moved on with them. Does that mean it's wrong to be disappointed? No, of course not. You can still be disappointed. I still am. And it's also not wrong to bring it up if you feel you need to talk about it. By all means, keep on mentioning it in the videos below in the comments section there, if that's really means enough to you that you want to keep on doing it. But the point is, I won't be joining in on those conversations. This is the one time I've spoken about it since 2022, and unless Frontier change their pitch on it, or unless they decide to come back to consoles, it will be the last time I talk about it. For what it's worth, that's also my take on the situation with VR as well. I'd love to see a full-on VR implementation, but here we are all these years later, and yeah, in case you're wondering why I don't mention about it, in case you're wondering why I don't respond to your comments, well, that is the reason. The game moved on and the community moved on along with it. And yes, like many of you, I am a big fan of VR, and I'm also disappointed that Odyssey isn't fully VR supported, but ultimately the reason you don't hear me talking about this is because it's all done and dusted. There's no use keep on dragging it up, and certainly not going to be a thing that would be mentioned in every video, and not even every other video, not even once a month. It just doesn't serve any purpose. So there we have it. That's what I feel is the elephant in the room over the past few years recently, and still seeing it crop up today. It just felt that I needed to address it. Take all that for what you will. Hopefully it's something you can kind of understand, understand where I'm coming from. Thanks for watching this video, and my thanks to Exeter for sponsoring this video. Do check out that link in the video description to find out everything you need to know.